rates, lower loan rates, and reduced fees. Visit mncun.org for more information.
Hi. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Wrong About Everything. I forgot how to start this show.
Starting off strong.
I am Democratic strategist, the Puerto Rican Heat, and still a little bit in Barbie Pink, Javier Morillo.
I am conservative strategist and Twin City Sugar, Brian McDaniel.
And we are?
Wrong About Everything.
Where are our ladies at?
Well,
it's just us.
You know what? As the podcast was originally intended.
That's right. Yeah, it's just the two of us.
Yep.
This is like the end of a movie, that would be saying, well, this is how it started. We'll just be old men podcasting to no one after the apocalypse.
We're going to be the longest podcast in history.
Yeah. No.
I bet if you were to look at all the podcasts in all the world, we're in the top 1% longevity for sure. Because we're in our 9th year, which is bananas to think that there were podcasts for 9 years.
Yep. And I'd be curious, like, of the people listening to this, have you been listening? You don't, not literally, I understand not every episode necessarily, but have you been listening for 9 years? What is the average, like, listenership? Because I feel like we've, like, molted. Like we lost listeners and gained others.
Yeah.
But we don't have good enough metrics. And you know why we don't have good enough metrics? Because we don't have enough money. Because you guys aren't patrons.
Yeah.
Can I break in and ask a question? Because I've been curious about this.
Yes, sir.
For your early days, like, do you believe that was your audience ever more Republican or Democrat or whatever? Like, how do you see that evolution?
I think that. This is just my opinion. I think that certainly towards the beginning, podcasting was something that leaned left in leadership, just as far as like that was a medium that people on the left, I think, embraced earlier than Republicans did. And so I think that early on, our listenership was very much like, members of the legislature, their staff and people like that. And I would say it's fair to say that the majority of our people are probably left leaning, though, I get contacted every week with something that I said that was good or bad from people from both sides.
Republicans get in touch with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like at the beginning, I mean, so the Republican Party has changed so much in the time we've been on the podcast that it's hard also for me to, because I feel like that there's a group of Republicans who like would just be made so mad by all of us that they're not going to listen. But yeah, so I don't have.
Well, I think that Republicans, not all obviously, but a good number of them aren't looking for a place to exchange ideas. They're looking for a place to explain why Javier is wrong, and they would enjoy that very much if that was kind of the purpose of the show. And I think Democrats lie to themselves a little bit more than Republicans do, and they pretend like they would like to have a free exchange of ideas rather than just pointing out how Amy and I are wrong. But I think that if you're not watching the video feed, just put up a scary picture
of your former party chair. Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you guys have, sometimes it feels like you have more Democratic groupies than Democrats on the show do.
Well, I mean, and this is something that
I have Democrats who say to me, I was like, well, like they seem reasonable, so they're my favorite Republicans.
It's like how like white women in the suburbs like having a black friend. That's how Brian is for them.
Well, and I say this with all seriousness because I've talked about this with I know a Democratic senator and probably more than that, but the senator I was speaking with, who's like I said a Dem, was surprised that another Dem legislator wanted to talk to me about a topic rather than him. And what I said is because they see me as the best Republican. Right. And they see him as the worst Democrat. So people are always like, well, Brian, why don't you just switch parties? You're going to be like that. Well, one, because I'm not a Democrat in almost any way, shape, or form. But then people would hold me to the same standard as Javier and then all you're going to do is disappoint them. Where I think Republicans who listen, and I'd love to hear from both of you who think that I'm the most conservative person on the planet, but I think that they want me to throw a lot more bombs and be a lot shoutier and stabbier, but I think we save that mostly for our chat group, and we try to have this be a little more of a productive forum. And I know that doesn't make everybody happy, but hopefully they see the podcast for what it is and what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
What's the first time that you guys ever got, like, was there a moment when you went, oh wow, a lot of people at the Capitol are listening? Was there ever a little scandal that you walked into or anything like that?
No. I think that, we had some live events pretty early on that were well attended. And I think then we knew that people were listening, enjoying it. I think the first time that I really felt like at the Capitol, at least Minnesota State Capitol, that we were a thing was I was at a fundraiser for a DFL member, and he introduced me to his staff, and the staff said something like, "Oh, I can't believe I get to talk to Brian McDaniel from Rongo and everything," and he was kind of sincere about it, and so I thought that was cool. And then sometimes at the Capitol, if I'm making appointments with staff, they'll say, "Oh, you mean Brian from Rongo About Everything?" Oh. And then there was last one, I'll let you talk. There was a new DFL state rep who, when I went into her office for the first time for a meeting, she recognized me by my voice.
Oh, and then
that's nice.
And then did she run you out?
No, not for the client I had. Some clients.
Yeah. Because I don't work at I think we have a very insider baseball-y, but then we also have a lot of people there. I'm surprised by people who will at state fair or kind of big events or stuff like that. But people who approach me and be like, "Oh, I always listen." And usually the people who approach are the ones who also want to make the point that they are not dicks. And I appreciate that.
We do very much.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, we are here in the Minnesota Credit Union Network studio. It's just Brian and me because it's not clear. I think, is Davis out? I think Davis is out. Are they out on their motorbike or whatever that's called? The four-wheeler?
Four-wheeler?
Four-wheeler.
Don't they have a boat?
They have they are... They now have a cabin. So
yeah.
And long-time listeners of the show know that my long-time complaint about Minnesotans is they don't invite you to their cabins. And I just want to say, Davis has had a cabin for a good number of months now.
I've been to the cabin.
To Davis's cabin?
No.
Yeah.
No, you have not.
No, I haven't.
I was going to say,
I was about to
scared to ask.
But I know that would hurt you deeply.
I was about to murder both of you.
Amy is actually doing our job, so yes. I appreciate that she's doing my job for me, so that I can talk to y'all.
Yeah.
On the Brian and Javier show, you're deep within the bowels of MBC Studios.
Yes. If you are in legal trouble, you should call the lawyers at Bradshaw and Bryant. Their entire team of attorneys and staff is dedicated to providing the legal advice you need, combined with the service and personal attention you deserve. If you have questions about how they can assist you with a personal injury, wrongful death, or criminal defense matter, do not hesitate to contact them because consultations are free. You can call them at 800-770-7008 or reach them at minnesotapersonalinjury.com. So let's get into it.
It's hot.
It's hot.
I don't like it.
It's hot, and it's hot everywhere.
I know.
It's man, this is just the new normal. And did you see that news story this week about that the ocean currents in the Atlantic, the water that's the ice that's melting from the poles may be irrevocably changing the Gulf Stream. And the last time that happened, it caused an ice age that lasted centuries. So
now it's going to be an ice age. You guys are really covering your ass.
You guys? You mean believers in science?
Yeah. Some science.
Oh my God. So it's it's this hot outside and this is really...
It's not good fat guy weather, I'll tell you that.
No,
and what was kind of funny, when I was over on when I was in Britain, is that it was really, really, really hot in London. It was like 90s at the time. And then we went up to Scotland and it was like 60s. And I don't know, what's our Scotland? I'd probably have to go to Scotland to get in the 60s. It was nice because you can kind of have a little from both worlds, and it's hot. I don't like it.
July.
I was super sick all week too, and so I got to at least be inside and miss some of the heat
from the thing you had last week.
No, I think it was a different thing, but I mean, this time I was.
Is it air quality?
I don't know, because this time Monday I was on a Zoom, and Amy was on there too, and I just turned my camera off, turned to the right, and threw up in my waste paper basket in my office, and then I couldn't leave my office because I wasn't gonna be able to drive home.
Jeez.
And so I took a nap on my couch, drove home, and then for the next day just scream vomited to the point where like I feel like I was like in a car accident because my ribs hurt so much. I feel much better now.
Well, thanks for sharing in such vivid detail.
You know, I thought you said such intimate quarters.
No, that's a lot of detail about your throwing up.
Scream, vomit.
No, so like air quality, airnow.gov is my my go-to website, because I realized that like apparently, it says like for sensitive groups, apparently I'm in a sensitive group.
Yeah.
Because I did, like, if I'm just like, I'm working out in the garden or something, I'm like, oh my God, I just feel queasy, just kind of crappy. And then I look at airnow.gov and it says like sensitive groups. It's like, it's bad. And the vegetables aren't freaking growing. That's because of the smoke too. Everything's growing really, really slow. It's just getting
we have lots of tomatoes.
And flowers, getting my first dahlias. You have lots of tomatoes?
We have lots of tomatoes. And I don't really eat tomatoes, so ask Jenny for some tomatoes. I think she'll be glad to give them to you.
I didn't know she was gardening.
Oh, yeah. No, that's kind of one of her new things.
Oh, good. Yeah. We talked about. But yes, so July, hottest month on Earth since records have been kept,
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
what, do you want to live forever?
It's totally, yeah, no. Yeah. So let's see. What do we want to talk about? Here's last week you guys were super mad that Minnesota was ranked as a good place for business
by CNBC.
So the business, isn't that the conservative business channel?
No, it's NBC something.
No, that's the one. They have Lou Dobbs on CNBC. Come on. But Morgan Stanley credits Bidenomics with stronger than expected GDP growth. And you have to admit that for the last 2 years, people have been predicting a recession, and it's right on the horizon. And so far, knock on wood, it looks like the Fed and the administration sort of efforts at having a soft landing, again, knock on wood, seem to be working.
Well, and I read the article, and the article talks a lot about the Infrastructure Act, the IIJA, and as somebody who kind of works in transportation infrastructure, absolutely. I mean, the numbers were somewhat inflated because it didn't just include new money. It was the money that was going to be coming to Minnesota and other places. But it was something, kind of like the old TVA, that at a time where the economy's going
Tennessee
south.
Valley Authority.
Tennessee Valley Authority.
Deep cut, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little FDR on you. Totally unconstitutional, but that's for a different show. But I think that it is something that was a very necessary infusion of cash for capital projects across the country. It was a bipartisan bill passed by Congress because it wasn't just the president doing an executive order or something. But I think that everybody who participated in that was the right thing at the right time. And even though we have a Democrat president, I'm not going to be one that's going to root against the American economy.
Right. I mean, happy to hear you say that
This week.
Yeah, because literally saying the opposite last week. But
that was last week.
Yeah.
Well, CNBC is not real.
Kevin McCarthy, Bidenomics is about blind faith in government spending and regulation. It's an economic disaster where government causes decades high inflation, high gas prices, lower paychecks, and crippling uncertainty that leaves America worse off. I think it'll be interesting, right, if these trends continue into election year, right, because the economy, the GDP is growing, the economy is stronger, crime is going down, which is a problem for all the not just like
some
not
crime,
just
some
Republicans.
places.
Violent crime is going down in cities. It's like, for example, Minneapolis, which has been, like conservatives in Minneapolis have been crowing so much about the lower police force.
I think they all drive Kias, so they're not safe.
What are you talking about?
That's like the car that.
That's the Gen Z kids.
That's the car that gets stolen all the time.
Because the kids find it fun or something.
Well, it doesn't have a certain anti-theft provision. Remember, like the city of Minneapolis, I think, and the AG, they wanted to sue Kia, and there was another manufacturer too, because everyone else puts this one anti-theft mechanism in their car except for the Kia and another one. So they wanted to say that the crime was because the cars were too easy to steal.
I mean, yeah.
Shout out to the Kia boys, by the way.
Kia
too.
boys.
That's,
the Kia boys.
Yeah, that's the gang.
Probably a Hyundai. Probably the Hyundai was the other one.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to be empathetic with someone who buys a Kia, but I mean, no one should have their car stolen.
We shouldn't,
even if it's ugly.
We shouldn't Kia shame.
Yeah, we should. Yes. But yeah, so it'll be interesting. Like, I mean, there's this lingering thing that's happening with Biden, where Biden, like that. I actually talked to a political reporter this morning about Minnesota and people's reactions to Biden and stuff, and it is this interesting dilemma that Democrats are in right now, and that Biden's in, right, is because I think they've been timid about taking claim for improvement in the economy, but if they don't start saying positive things, literally no one is going to, because certainly Republicans are not going to say anything nice. And you want to thread the needle and say, not like if people are feeling uncertain, you don't want to tell them that they're wrong, that their feelings are wrong. But at the same time, like there's, we have averted so far a recession, and inflation is steadily going down, and so it's everything that we. But
the high interest rates, and I'm gonna admit I'm stealing your talking points from an administration gone by, but the GDP doesn't really affect somebody directly immediately in their home. And right. I think one of the reasons that you and I can kind of say, hey, you know what, this looks like it's working, is because we're old enough and established enough. We already have our houses. Right now it's almost impossible. I mean,
I've had my house a year. But
you have it.
Settle down.
But you have it. But we have Gabe Noah working the board, and he has a real estate show that I sometimes tune into because I know a couple of the people that are on it. And now there's not just there's a supply problem, because people aren't even listing their houses, let alone people being able to afford them. So I think that the high gas prices and the high interest rates do very much are affecting younger people and bigger families in a way that you and I probably don't experience. So I think yeah, it's good. I mean, you look at these numbers and it's good, and you don't want the American economy to go bad, because then that does affect everybody. But also I think that it's people's daily interactions with the economy are very different than I think what these numbers are offering.
Yeah, no, and I think this is where stats and reality, right? That inflation getting under control is definitely good news into the future, but it also it is stopping things where they're at. So if things have become unaffordable for you, they're not becoming more unaffordable, but they're not going back to where they were 2 years ago.
Yeah,
so so there's a lag there, but kind of where Republicans go on a doom and gloom message on issues that start improving will be, I think, interesting to see.
Gabe's asking a question about price gouging, and that's something that when I was staff at the Minnesota House of Representatives, we dealt with a ton. I was there, right after 9/11, where there actually were some concerns about price gouging. I guess I don't feel as though there is something that I know that the price of gas is a very complicated formula, and in all that. But I guess I don't feel as though price gouging is happening in any great frequency right now. And I think if it was, this legislature in Minnesota would definitely pass lots of laws about it.
No, I mean, but I think there are economists talking about this, about one of the problems in the economy right now being greed. That the way in which, like the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, like that corporations made out very well, and so there is a well thought out sort of theory out there about how that's one of the things that's holding the stuff back is corporate greed. Like, because what have corporations done with a lot of like their with like tax breaks and stuff that they've gotten over the years is like buy back stocks. They don't reinvest them.
And I think that's one of the interesting things. We've talked about this a lot on this show. I think one of the interesting, there's all kinds of shifts that happen, with different voting groups and voting patterns. And I think to a certain extent, the left is having a resurgence of connection to corporate America through kind of, some of the social issues that a lot of companies are going. And I think that as the Republican Party gets a little more MAGA and gets a little bit less, focused on kind of like big businesses other than Trump's. I think that Republicans feel far less connection to the business community than they once did, and I think that has made it, both on the federal level and the state level, it's kind of changed, who the traditional powers are, because it's not as black and white. Where once upon a time all labor was blue. Well, that's not necessarily the case anymore, and all business was red. That's not necessarily the case anymore, and you see it a lot played out with what's going on in Florida with Disney and all of that. And I think that corporate greed is something that a lot of corporations have said, no, we're not red or blue, we're green, and that's all they care about.
That point I agree with, because I don't think that business and Democrats are to be getting closer. I think businesses have made business decisions, to like cater to broad communities, right? Like, Target hasn't had Pride, merchandise in their stores for like a decade, just because they love the gays. There are lots of gay people who work at Target, so a lot of people love gays, but they also are catering to a community that spends money. Far
less money than before. But I guess we're spending some money now.
No, but for all the stuff that Bud Light, the whole thing that happened this year with the ridiculousness around that. Bud Light has been a sponsor of Pride parades as long as I can remember, as long as I've been going to them. These are business decisions. But that's part of the thing. I think what is so bizarre to me. We talked about this on Almanac on Friday, just about how out of touch Republicans are getting. I would see reactions to Barbie movie, but it's just there's just no freaking joy on your side anymore. Everyone's just pissed about everything.
Well, but remember, and let's remember, Twitter is not real life. And I read stuff on Twitter about the Barbie movie, which I have not seen, but I read stuff on Twitter that I showed it to my wife.
Do you hate women?
Huh?
Do you hate women?
You mean all women? No. But I saw something on conservative Twitter. I showed it to my wife. I'm like, oh my God, I guess they just love losing money. And then I know lots of people who went and saw the movie and said, Brian, you would find it delightful. And I'm sure that I will see it with my daughter. And so I do think that, but remember, these people on the right, and the left has them too, they get views, they get clicks, they get all this stuff by manipulating the public into being super mad about stuff that they don't know anything about. People aren't going to go see Barbie and walk out and say that pissed me off. They're just not going to go see it because they're expecting to be pissed off. And I think that the Bud Light thing, I think that some of the Disney stuff with their terrible movies, I think with Target, individually, each of these things are ridiculous. But I don't really think it's about people not spending money at a place because of the one thing, Dylan Mulvaney, who's now mad at Bud Light or Disney or Target. I think that it's an overall rejection of just how prevalent, how everything has to be wrapped up in sexuality right now. And that's what I think people, so you're saying that they're appealing to broad swaths of people. They are, but also it's turning off other swaths of people, and it's not just the far right Looney Tune Twitter people.
No, I don't think that it's about it's not only about catering to the specific community, but it's also about showing your values and just tolerance, and that a lot of people who used to be Republican voters in the suburbs, they just don't hate gay people. They don't hate trans people. Nope. And so they but I mean I think there was this interesting map about Barbie versus Oppenheimer, in the country, like what states are seeing which movie the most, and it's actually the reverse. It's like red states is where Barbie's a lot more popular, and Oppenheimer, it's Washington State, it's California, it's New York.
On your map, Virginia. Blue is Oppenheimer.
Yes.
Yeah, that is opposite of what I would have thought.
Yeah. No, that's. I
was going to say, does Louisiana know that Oppenheimer was a Jew?
No, see, they're pink.
I know, but when I saw the map, that's what I thought. I'm agreeing with you. It's opposite of what I thought it was going to be.
Right? No, exactly. But that's what But you might not think so because
for first-time listeners,
Ben
Jewish
Shapiro
comment was a joke. My grandfather was Jewish.
That's not a joke.
It's real.
That's not an explanation for why that's not a good joke.
Well.
Yeah. Anyway, no, that Ben, what's his name? Shapiro did a 40-minute video about how horrible Barbie is for the world, and it's like, come get your people. Like, your people are actually watching Barbie because, whatever, it's freaking Barbie. Your site is so damn joyless now.
How do I can't deny that. I think that the people who are open-minded on these type of things, the Republicans are sour right now. You're not wrong. I think that the movie that they want everyone to go see is the sex trafficking movie, Let Freedom Ring. What was it called? Let Freedom Ring, which I haven't seen, and it might be fantastic. I know people that saw it and they said it was fantastic, but it's like everything has to have a point. Not everything has to be a point. And if you go to Disney, if you go to Barbie and you don't like what they're talking about the patriarchy, well, tell your friends, and then they might not go see it. But I think this just constantly looking for something to we're going to be on MCN 6 tonight, probably at 4 a.m, but just finding something to bitch about all the time. You're right. Republican Party, by and large, is joyless right now. We're just looking to either not have fun ourselves, suck the fun out of someone else's fun, and I think that what we're not doing is presenting ourselves as a club that anybody would want to join or come back to, and that's the problem, because we could be talking about things that do matter to families and the like, but instead, what are we talking about? Barbie movie, and that the Barbie movie is going to be mean to us. Well, you know what? Go see it or don't go see it. But I think protesting about something you don't know anything about falls, pretty deaf.
And what I'll say is just put on some pink, paint your nails, and go see the damn movie. It's funny. It's fun. It's funny and it's fun. It's a fun movie.
I asked several people I trust, is this something that I would like? And they said, we think you'd find it delightful.
I'm sure you would like it. I'm certain you would like it. It's all of it is tongue in cheek. That's the thing, is there is a mainstream movie that people are dressing in pink for that says the word patriarchy a lot. Remember when Amy said patriarchy on the show, but she said patriarchy because that's how much she thinks about it?
That was so heteronormative of her.
Yeah. Now you're just showing off. She's like, the patriarchy. Like, it's not about a person named Pat. But no, yeah, it's a very good movie. But I'm going to see
Oppenheimer too. I did a big report.
Yeah,
on him. I've always been fascinated by Robert Oppenheimer. I did a report on him in college, and I'm very curious to see how the movie. I heard it was good too.
Yeah, no, I heard that was fantastic as well. I want to see it. I could not do 2 in one day. I'm just like, I can't. There's only so much I can do for a meme.
I can't remember the last time I went to a movie.
Yeah, it was interesting to be at a movie theater and it's packed. Yeah. Like it's been a long time since I've been in a packed movie theater, but. So I've been wondering when a state would say "F you" to the Supreme Court and just say, because their Supreme Court does not, famously does not have its own army. There's like these are all customs and how we enforce the and this is why the legitimacy of the court is so important. But it's Republicans who the first shot fired. Alabama Republicans on Friday defied a U.S. Supreme Court order by passing a new congressional map that includes only one majority black district.
They were instructed to make 2.
Yep.
They made one that was a majority black, one that was 40%. It now goes to a federal. I don't know if it's a panel or court. Probably court. So I mean, here's the thing. I think that the people of Alabama elect people to represent them. I think that the Supreme Court also, is a co-equal branch of government, and that we can talk about federalism and all that stuff too. But I think this is how it's supposed to work. You're supposed. That's why we have multiple levels of courts, and we'll find out. I don't know nearly enough, and I'm not going to pretend to know enough about the specifics of the Alabama case and what odds it has of going to getting past the next federal court. But we have these things to hammer out the legality of these things, and ultimately, if it's inappropriate, Alabama's going to have to comply.
I think that's a valiant effort at trying to make this seem normal.
Thank you.
It is not normal. Because it's not if it complied. It doesn't. They said 2 majority black districts. They did 1 and another that's not close, and that's open defiance of the Supreme Court. That is not of the Supreme Court decision. There's no they'll be it will be appealed, and there'll be probably courts will appoint a special master to draw maps. But I just think it's another thing that that National Republicans and the Republican Party just showing to folks. It just that. The intransigence, just the irrationality. This is why the brand is so messed up.
The brand is messed up. Now we can go through lots of different states that have had redistricting problems, red and blue. But yeah, no, I think that this is something they were given instruction on what they needed to do by a court that had jurisdiction, and they didn't do it.
And they didn't.
And if it was 49%. Maybe they get by with it. 48, maybe they get by with it. But as I understand it, it was 40. I would feel as though that's probably not going to cut the mustard, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. So when does pot become legal here in Minnesota?
The 1st, next week.
Next week?
I think August 1st.
I have not made plans.
You don't have pot in your house right now.
Hey now.
Gummies, legal gummies.
Legal gummies, that's what I meant. Yeah, Senben gave them to me.
Yeah.
After she legalized them.
Well, she kind of did. No. She would say that she was not on that conference committee.
Yeah. I heard her try to.
Yeah, no, and the closer we get, I think the more and more we're finding that the Office of Cannabis Management doesn't go into effect until I think 2025. So between now and 2025, it's a little bit of the Wild West as far as what kind of local prohibition or what kind of local rules can go into place, and we're going to get a hodgepodge, which is something that they didn't want, because right now, that under the law as it currently stands, that if you're an underage person smoking weed, there's nothing they can do to you. There has to be a local ordinance against it. And that's something that surprised me when I read that. I think that was in MinPost today. And I've been dealing with I deal with local governments every day for my day job, and I've been dealing with different suburbs and how they're interacting with cannabis retailers. And it is going to be a little tough because different. Rochester just said nothing new until 2025. Oakdale, is saying that they're going to review, the new statutes, but there's no guarantee that they're going to, loosen up restrictions on certain cannabis retailers. I know that down in Lakeville, where I live, they're going to be passing an ordinance about youth use and using it in public. And I think that what it's going to do is it's until 2025, when we kind of get some uniformity, it's going to make it so the rules in Apple Valley are going to be different than the rules in Lakeville, and they're going to be different than the ones in Eagan and South St. Paul, and I think that that's not great for the people who need to regulate the product, people who need to use the product, and people who have to enforce the product.
I think this is all going to be a non-issue because the vast majority of smoking is going to be done in marijuana with THC vapes, and you cannot tell the difference between a THC vape and any other kind of vape. Like they don't smell differently, and it doesn't smell like marijuana. So this is I think people have this idea like when Michelle Benson has been on this, she's like, oh, Minneapolis is going to stink so much. So I don't know when you watched Cheech and Chong. It must have been very recently. But
Dave's not here, man.
Yeah, the times have changed.
They have.
The product has changed. People eat gummies.
Yep.
You're not going to smell a damn thing. They vape. You're not going to smell a damn thing. Like that. There's this idea that it's like reefer madness. That all of a sudden. But I did have a question for you, about this. Are they because it's legal to have, so it's decriminalized as of next week. But there are no marijuana dispensaries opening next week.
I think the dispensaries, no,
right. That won't be for that the office is going to be created.
So yes. So I think what's going to be happening is that you're going to be able to grow your own,
right?
Be able to possess your own. You'll be able to purchase the low dose gummies that were legalized in 2022. There's the beverages, which they legalized last year. You're welcome. They can be sold in your local liquor store. But I think that really where you can smoke it, how you can smoke it, and what penalties there are for violating that are going to be different from city to city to city until 2025 when the Office of Cannabis Management is up and rolling.
Right. Yeah. But I think that, like I said, the patchwork thing is just overplayed because people are imagining a 70s version of what it would look like to legalize cannabis, and what it's going to look like is pretty much what it looks like outside right now.
Well, I experienced this weekend. I think kind of what it is people are going to smoke in their cars, and then when you're driving by them, you smell it, and it's unpleasant, but I think you're right. It's not anything anyone's going to do about it.
That was so someone was smoking a joint. Is what you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah. Right. And so if you smoke, if the person was vaping in the car, you wouldn't smell a damn thing. That person, you passed by literally Cheech or Chong. Yeah. Where were you?
I was at a restaurant in Apple Valley. We were parked next to a van.
See, that den of iniquity, Apple Valley.
Yep. That's why I moved to Lakeville.
Yeah, that's the thing. All right. So in Minneapolis news, the public safety commissioner, Cedric Alexander, retired after 1 year.
Yeah,
I'd like to say retired. Retired? You're there 1 year. Retirement?
Well, maybe he's going to not seek other employment anywhere else. I don't know.
No, he's already consulting elsewhere.
Well, consulting. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
It's my favorite story out of Minneapolis this last week. This was unbelievable. So there's a Minneapolis police officer who was featured in a KSTP story, and he's a whistleblower, basically because he's whistleblowing his own hiring process because he saw this job open, but he and his wife were like, you can't get that. Why? Because he's been involved in serious bad incidents that resulted in the city paying out huge sums of money to so he's basically like, I can't believe they hired me. I'm a terrible cop. And so then he goes to KSTP to talk about it. It's like, this is how bad their hiring is. They wanted to hire me. He literally pulled out of it. He really pulled out of the process. He's like, no, I'm gonna hand you guys a gift and pull out of this job search. It's a very confusing story, but I was just so damn amused that this dude is like a whistleblower. They're like, sir, you report. I'm a whistleblower. I have a very important story. Like, they're trying to hire a bad cop. Oh, who's the bad cop? Oh, me.
Yeah.
It's me.
I'm a piece of shit.
I'm the problem.
I'm the problem. I mean, well, we can talk about it. I mean, we have talked about it in great. I don't see how we really affect change one way or the other. I think that, that there aren't the right people don't want the policing job. They can't hire enough of the good people that do want to do it. And we're going to continue to have a problem in our big cities.
Yeah. But again, violent crime in Minneapolis is down with like fewer cops, turns out. Turns out that things like rise and fall of crime have less to do with how many police officers you have and more to do with like economic conditions and poverty and all this other things.
I think it has to do with both.
Yeah, I mean, but they are. They're like Minneapolis. There was just a story this last week about like how St. Paul has dramatically decreased the number of car thefts. Minneapolis stays the same. Well,
you can't commit crimes if you're driving around in your new whip. Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But their clearance rate is a lot lower than St. Paul and other cities. St. Paul cops, the city of St. Paul clears more murder cases, clears more felony cases than Minneapolis does. Like the Minneapolis Police Department, and hopefully the federal and state. What is the thing?
I know what you're talking
the
about.
Agreements they have to come up with the judge, with the court. Yeah, that's why people come to this podcast.
Well, and what I'll say is that to give a little bit of credit to the people in Minneapolis who are staying on the cop beat and doing their job, is that you also can't say that the reduction in violent crime has nothing to do with some of the things they're doing as well. So I think all of these things, none of these things have a single cause or a single cure. And I think that in politics, we look for one thing that's going to fix it.
Yeah, but to be clear, the mayor and his supporters and all of Minneapolis last year were 100% saying that the rise in crime has one cause, and that is the low police numbers. And now crime is going down, and the police department still has the same number of vacancies as before. Not saying it's a separate question, like what the appropriate level of policing and all that, but it is simplistic and naive to just to do what they were doing, which is to say that it had one cause, and it doesn't. But and now this goodbye, Cedric Alexander. We hardly knew you.
Hardly knew you.
You got any plugs?
I don't think I have any for this week, but there's with us being on Wednesday now, it's like on Thursday I find out all my stuff. So you and I were on Almanac last week, so you can find it at tpt.org/almanac. We were on with Sen Ben and Abu Amara.
Yeah.
I was also on At Issue with Tom Hauser on Sunday, and I was also on the Shaletta Show on Saturday, talking about affirmative action, because why wouldn't I?
On Shaletta Show?
Yeah.
With who, you said?
We were talking about affirmative action.
Oh. Why?
Well, I think part of it, and let's give Shaletta on WCCO 8:30 on Saturdays.
No, she's great.
Yeah, she wanted.
I'm baffled as to why she keeps having you on her show.
Yeah, she likes me. I think that she's curious from what's the white person's view, and but also
you're standing in for white people.
No, I didn't do a very good job.
Hey, Gabe, you guys might want to caucus.
No, but
I think he's a wonderful candidate.
Yeah,
he's one of our whitest.
I cleared it all through Gabe. No, but because of the class I teach, I have a certain amount of historical knowledge about why there are good reasons for it, and you can always claim that it goes too far or not far enough. But we had a great conversation. We talked for pretty much an hour. We talked about the Tulsa massacre and everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, we talked about all kinds of stuff. I think you would have been very happy with most of the things I said, which probably means that there are a lot of people that'd be pissed.
Well, of course, yeah. But, dude, we have two new members of the most exclusive club in town, Liz W. and Willow. Willow RK. I'm not going to, can you pronounce those last names?
It's Liz W. and Willow Kreitbick.
We're not going to say.
Sorry.
We're really sorry, Willow. We thank you very, very much for supporting our show and not intentionally butchering your name. I'm just not familiar. But patreon.com/wrong about everything podcast. We truly deeply appreciate the generous support that we have from lots and lots of listeners. We joke a lot, but I mostly joke at well, it's actually not a joke. It's serious, that you guys who can afford it and are not paying, you're being dicks. That's a serious point. But but we are a fun group. We don't mean to be mean.
No.
But I told you that I had someone like elected official who after a text exchange text me and said, by the way, I'm a dick, which I thought was hilarious. But we genuinely appreciate Liz and Willow. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of our listeners who go on patreon.com/wrong about everything podcast. We've been doing this podcast, as we said at the beginning, 9 freaking years.
9
years. Long damn time. Yes. Yeah. Long damn time. We have aged on this show.
Then there have been 2 constants.
Yeah.
Me and you, baby.
That's it. Yep. Yeah, this really does feel like a finale episode. It's weird, but like a Seinfeld finale, disappointing.
The aliens are coming, so
that's true. Yeah,
tomorrow's not guaranteed.
We didn't even talk about that, by the way. We didn't watch the hearing today, but apparently it was all crazy.
Well, Gabe says he has some stuff ready for us, so maybe have Gabe do that. And maybe
Gabe, you have some.
If you want to go through the I found an article that's just the 5 takeaways from it. So I thought we could go through it live if you wanted.
Sure. Yeah.
So here we go.
On-air production meeting.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we got the 5 takeaways, and I'll let you guys take it from here if you want, or I can go and you guys can talk. So the big thing was the difference for people who follow this topic, as I do, is the big thing was they talk about the funding of the black programs. Yeah. And Dave Grush, who's the main whistleblower, who was the one who prepared the president's daily briefing, so he's very highly placed in that.
He did the daily briefings?
He did the daily briefings.
Know that. Holy crap.
So I mean, he's really high up. He had full access with this stuff. And so the big takeaways were he says, yes, absolutely, funding was meant for other things that was reallocated to these black budget things. Oops. So illegal. He said he's got the names and, he's got the details, basically. The other one is, sorry, let me move it on here.
The government is absolutely in possession of UAPs. That is bananas.
Yep. And then did you hear about and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce the base right, but Elgin Air Force Base or something like that. ELGIN. But this week, Burchett and that kind of cute Republican lady, Luna, whatever, that they actually went to the base. Yep. They actually went to the base and they were turned away. They had to call the Pentagon, or they had to call DOD to say, what the hell, we're supposed to be here looking at this stuff. You answer to us, not the other way around. And they never did get to see what they intended to see. So it's really crazy how much they're doing that. So that's one of them. Absolutely in possession.
And non-human biologics were found at a crash site. What the hell does that mean?
Pilots of those, we have recovered bodies. So that's real.
Oh.
There are aliens as a it's a new reality.
Do you think that Joe Rogan's right about Alpha Brain too?
Well, there you have it.
Can't write them
Late breaking news. The aliens are here. So
officials must establish safe, transparent. Okay, and it's all about government oversight, man. Like at the end of the day, that's what this thing's about, and we have none.
Well, I'm just wondering what kind of deal could we have struck with the aliens? Because obviously, maybe we have one, maybe we have 2, but obviously they're more advanced than us. So how do we get to tell them? Shh, we don't want to tell our people.
Did you see today Mitch McConnell short circuited?
I heard about that. I also saw a video where Joe Biden is quite obviously wearing a Joe Biden mask because you can see his real eyebrows underneath his skin.
There's all the
Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
The weird UFO thing that normally you'd laugh at, and now you can't write off anything anymore these days. So is that Eisenhower met with the aliens way back then, and they made a deal with them. Yeah,
that was the whole thing with Roswell. That's the conspiracy theory. Because do you watch American Horror Story? American Horror Story.
Yes.
The last season of it was all about that, and like maybe Eisenhower, like she has sex with an alien. It gets maybe.
yeah.
No,
they say that like that basically they allowed them to be like a certain amount of people to be taken in exchange for technology.
Oh, right.
And then that's the big weird, or the thing that Grush is saying is that we have got that technology. We do have the disc, but we're giving them to Lockheed and to different companies that we're choosing. And that there's huge lawsuits there potentially because
can't they fix the polar ice caps for Javier?
That would
for me, just for me.
Well, your family lives on an island.
Fair. Thank you. Thanks for thinking of them.
Midwest. We go last.
You see how hot it is out?
It's so hot.
It's not better here. All right, let's go to Spanks and Thanks.
Okay. I'll be happy to go. I'll be really short with mine. Which one do you want to put up first? Both of mine are Spanks.
Yes,
Gabe,
I'm actually rushing to put them up on screen right now. So keep talking and stalling, but I have both of them. So it's.
I think okay. So mine, I got two Spanks. They're both Biden related with Hunter.
Yep.
Are we doing the Hunter
Here it
Biden?
comes. Yep, Hunter. Here we go.
There we go. Okay, so Hunter Biden was in court today. He had negotiated a pretty sweet deal about his illegal gun possession and his tax evasion. But he had struck a deal, and both the judge and the person who negotiated it, they're both Trump appointees. So we kind of can't point to the Trumper in the room and say that they did something wrong. But Hunter Biden today pleaded not guilty to federal charges, which was a surprise development. He had been expected to plead guilty to 2 tax charges under a deal with the government, but the judge delayed ruling on the agreement until she receives additional information. And what was interesting about this is that Biden's people were arguing that the deal that he was striking on this was going to prevent him from being charged or prosecuted for potentially not declaring himself a foreign agent. And then the prosecutor was like, "Well, then we're not doing this." So I think that Hunter Biden is going to end up either having to strike a different deal or going to trial, but he continues to be a national embarrassment to both him and his father. And then my second spank is to Joe Biden, who continually asserts that he never met with any of Hunter's business people, especially, there's all the issues with Burisma in the Ukraine and supposed $10 million payoffs going to Biden to Hunter Biden for access to his dad, the big guy. And next week, Devin Archer, who is a former best friend and business associate of Hunter Biden, is going to testify under oath to Congress that President Biden met with dozens of Hunter's business associates while he was serving as vice president between 2009 and 2017. So also, one of our listeners provided me with information about the appropriateness of Clarence Thomas, about the trips and everything that he took, and I guess I hadn't looked into it enough. The question isn't with all of these guys whether something is illegal, is what Clarence Thomas did under the ethics rules that existed at the time was completely within the rules. But
he didn't. That's not true.
It's 100% true. I read it right here.
I
read it. It is.
It's not true. He didn't report.
He didn't have to. But
yes,
they changed how you have to report it. And no,
he previously reported the tuition. He reported the tuition once, and then he stopped reporting it. So, like you're saying that he didn't need to report it when he did. He had previously done it, then he decided not to.
But if he didn't need to do it ever,
what's your source there?
Well, some of it was Why do I have to? I don't have to cite my fucking sources on my Spanx and things. You're not correct. But Sheldon Whitehouse, a Democrat, agrees, and then I'll find the. But anyway, he didn't have to do what it was before. But the question is, are these people selling access? I think that they all are. And I think that try to say that Clarence Thomas is doing something. Do I believe that Joe Biden met with his kids' business people to help his kid? I think he did. Do I think that every president before him probably did something like that? I think most of them probably did. It doesn't make it right, but I think also we shouldn't clutch our pearls that these things go on. They definitely do. And if we can find out that someone who received a buyout for payoff for access, then the law will treat them appropriately. So go while I find you my source.
Let's see, my Spanx and thanks. Oh my God.
Jason Aldean.
Yes, Jason Aldean. So, you probably read about this and heard about this. It's one of the most depressing stories. Another moment of polarization in the country. Country star Jason Aldean. His music video was taken down by country music channel. The song, it's about don't try this in a small town, and the references to are to basic references to the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020, the video was filmed in front of the video for it was filmed in front of a city hall that was the site of a lynching in the past. And here's the thing, right? That it'd be one thing if Jason Aldean's is that how you pronounce it? Aldean. If he said, "Hey, you know what? I didn't know that," and I apologize. Instead, he's going on an anti-woke tour. I just find the whole thing depressing. I think the fact that some people just are so willfully blind to just that it is not just a reasonable read of the lyrics, but then that the video leaves no doubt, right? That this is playing off like what we see this a lot in Minnesota, rural versus urban and all this, and it's just it's gross. It's sad. It's just pathetic, and it has nothing to do with anti-woke culture or anything else. It's just be a decent human, and don't invoke the racist lynchings of the past. In good news, I'm going to thank this week. The Teamsters and UPS just narrowly averted a strike before the August 1st deadline. This would have been an incredible hit to the economy and to the country, and they struck a deal that the union is saying the best is one of the best contracts they've ever the best contract that they've ever had, and had dramatic pay increases. They're also doing things like adding air conditioners to trucks, which as we've been talking about all day, it's damn hot. But it's really it's great to see a union doing what unions do, which is raise standards for its members and raise expectations for workers who are not in unions, and raise the promise that if you get together and form a union, you too can raise standards in your industry. And so it's good news for everyone.
I just hope they got pants.
What did you just say?
The UPS drivers, if they negotiated for pants, for long pants.
If you don't have AC, you probably don't want long pants.
Well, now they need it for the AC. They should have to pay.
That is the most random comment I've ever heard.
They're always wearing shorts. You notice that, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. No.
Does it bother you? Grown men wearing shorts like that? Being forced to wear them at work?
It depends on the guy.
Okay.
I like our UPS guy. Yeah. Just, the brown. Respect the brown, Moon, man. All right. With that, I am progressive strategist and the Puerto Rican heat, Javier Murillo.
I am a Republican strategist and able to cite my sources right here, Brian McDaniel.
He's waving paper.
Well,
and we
we got to go.
wrong
Wrong about
everything.